Welcome back to Soul Car, the channel where every engine hides a heartbeat and every road tells a story. If you love stories that mix grit, grease, and pure emotion, make sure to hit that subscribe button and buckle up, because today's story will take you on a ride you'll never forget. It all began in a quiet town where the scent of gasoline was as familiar as the morning coffee. The sound of tools clanking in a small garage echoed down the street, where a man named Jack worked tirelessly beneath the hood of cars that were older than most of his customers. Jack wasn't just a mechanic. He was a single dad, a man who had learned to build engines by day and raise a little girl by night. Life had taken his wife too soon, leaving behind only memories and a daughter named Lily, who was the only reason Jack woke up every morning with purpose. Lily was 10, full of questions and curiosity, always hanging around her dad's workshop, sketching on old car manuals or helping hand him tools. Jack's garage wasn't fancy. The sign outside was faded, the paint peeling, and the floor stained with years of oil spills. But for Jack and Lily, it was home. One morning, while Jack wiped sweat from his brow after a long repair job, a man in a sleek black suit stepped into the garage. His shoes were polished, his watch gleamed under the fluorescent light, and his presence made everyone in the shop pause. He introduced himself as Mr. Dalton, an assistant to one of the most powerful people in the state, a name Jack had only heard whispered in business circles. The billionaire's name was Evelyn Hart. She owned half the city, auto companies, construction firms, and a private collection of luxury cars rumored to be worth more than Jack could earn in 10 lifetimes. Mr. Dalton explained that Ms. Hart's prized prototype car, a custom-built electric model with unmatched engineering, had broken down under mysterious circumstances. Every mechanic and engineer she'd called had refused to touch it. The system was too complex, too experimental, and no one wanted to risk ruining something that cost millions. But Ms. Hart was desperate. She needed the car running in 72 hours for an international investor showcase. Dalton said she was willing to pay whatever it took for the right person to fix it. Jack listened carefully. He knew this wasn't a normal job. He'd worked on electric engines before, but nothing like this. Still, the money Dalton mentioned could pay off his debts, buy new tools, and maybe even send Lily to a better school. He hesitated for only a moment before agreeing. Dalton handed him a card and told him to report to the Hart estate the next morning. That night, Jack tucked Lily into bed and told her he'd be gone for a few days working on an important job. She looked up at him with sleepy eyes and asked, "Will it make things better for us, Daddy?" He smiled softly. "I hope so, sweetheart. I really hope so." The next morning, Jack drove up a winding road into the hills where the billionaire's mansion stood, a fortress of glass and steel overlooking the valley. The place felt more like a museum than a home. The staff barely spoke, and the air was heavy with formality. When Jack arrived at the massive garage, he couldn't believe his eyes. It wasn't just a garage, it was a private workshop with robotic arms, diagnostic machines, and a collection of cars that looked like art pieces. And in the center of it all sat the broken prototype, sleek, silver, and completely lifeless. Then she appeared, Evelyn Hart herself. She was elegant, confident, and distant. Her eyes were sharp, the kind that could slice through lies and hesitation alike. She asked Jack a few quick questions, testing his confidence. "Do you understand what this car is capable of?" she asked. "It's not a regular engine. It's built on experimental AI integration and adaptive power systems." Jack nodded respectfully. "A machine's a machine," he said. "No matter how advanced, it still needs someone to listen to what it's trying to say." That response made her pause. Most people tried to impress her with technical jargon. Jack, on the other hand, spoke like someone who actually cared about the soul of a machine. Against her better judgment, she told him to begin. For the next 2 days, Jack worked almost without rest. The systems were more complex than he'd imagined, and the car seemed almost alive. Every time he made progress, a new error appeared. Evelyn would occasionally come down to check, always composed but clearly stressed. She didn't believe in failure. People either performed or disappeared from her world. But as she watched Jack, she noticed something different. He wasn't just fixing the car. He was listening, observing, understanding its behavior like it was a living thing. During one of her late-night visits, she found Jack asleep beside the car, tools still in hand. Lily had called him earlier, and Evelyn overheard part of the conversation through the speakerphone. Lily was asking if he'd be home soon, and Jack had promised, "Once this job's done, we'll finally have that movie night you wanted." Something about the way he said it, the tired tenderness in his voice, struck Evelyn. It had been a long time since anyone around her had spoken with such warmth. The next day, Jack discovered the problem. The AI core had a recursive loop caused by an emotional feedback algorithm, something designed to learn from driver behavior but had overloaded itself. It wasn't a mechanical issue. It was emotional data gone rogue. Jack smiled to himself. "Even machines can have hearts that break," he muttered. Evelyn, who was standing nearby, heard him. For the first time, she smiled faintly. When he explained the issue and his plan to fix it, Evelyn listened carefully. He spoke simply but with conviction. By evening, the car came alive again. The dashboard lit up. The hum of the electric motor purred through the air, and the car's AI voice softly greeted Evelyn by name. It was a success. She looked at him, genuinely impressed. "You did what my entire team couldn't," she said quietly. Jack shrugged, wiping his hands. "Sometimes you just have to care enough to understand what's really broken." That line lingered in her mind. Jack prepared to leave the next day, expecting payment and nothing more. But Evelyn surprised him. She invited him and his daughter to visit the estate for dinner as a token of gratitude. At first, Jack declined, unsure if he'd fit in among people like her. But Lily, when she heard the invitation, was overjoyed. "A billionaire's house, Daddy? That's like a fairy tale." So he agreed. Dinner at the Hart Mansion was unlike anything Jack had experienced. Lily was wide-eyed at the grandeur, but what stood out most was how Evelyn treated her, with genuine kindness. She asked about school, her favorite subjects, and even laughed at Lily's stories. Jack watched quietly, realizing that beneath her icy exterior, Evelyn was a woman who had simply forgotten what warmth felt like. As weeks passed, Evelyn began finding reasons to call Jack back, sometimes for minor car issues, sometimes for advice on her collection. Each visit turned into longer conversations. She started sharing pieces of her life, how she'd built her empire after being abandoned by people she trusted, how success had come at the cost of solitude. Jack listened, not judging, just understanding. And somewhere between the sound of engines and shared silences, something fragile began to grow. One evening, Jack invited Evelyn to his small garage. It was nothing compared to her facilities, but he wanted her to see where he came from. She watched as Lily handed her dad wrenches with precision, smiling proudly. Evelyn realized this little garage, with its chipped walls and worn tools, had more soul than all her luxury properties combined. As time passed, the media began noticing Evelyn's change. The once ruthless billionaire was seen spending time in town, supporting local workshops, and even funding technical programs for underprivileged kids. Her board of directors didn't understand it, but Jack did. He'd taught her that fixing engines wasn't just about machines. It was about care, patience, and trust. Then came the night that tested everything. Evelyn's company faced a crisis, a data breach that threatened her entire operation. Investors fled and the media tore her apart. Jack arrived at the mansion to find her pacing, defeated. "Everyone's leaving," she whispered. "They only cared when I was winning." He stepped closer. "Then let them go. What matters is who stays when things break." Evelyn looked at him, and for the first time tears welled in her eyes. Jack gently placed his hand on hers. "You taught your machines to learn emotion. Maybe it's time you let yourself feel it too." She smiled through her tears. That was the night she realized she wasn't alone anymore. Months passed. The scandal faded. The company rebuilt stronger than ever, and Evelyn started a new initiative, Hart Mechanics, offering scholarships and jobs to single parents and young technicians. Jack became the lead consultant, working not for her, but with her. Together, they built something that wasn't just about cars. It was about giving people a chance to start over. One day, as they stood at a charity event surrounded by the buzz of cameras, Evelyn looked at Jack and Lily laughing together. She turned to the reporter beside her and said, "That man fixed more than a car. He reminded me that even the coldest engines can find warmth again." the on the thaye.